Today we're going to take a look at this crowns stitch. And we're calling it crowns because these little loopy bits here sort of look like a little crown. And that's bordered by bands of garter stitch, which is just knit. It's fairly simple, and it's just 2 rows that make this really neat textured pattern right here. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So I've got a swatch already begun, and I'm ready to work row 5. So we're starting at row 5 because rows 1 to 4 are just plain knitting. It's knit every stitch, which creates these garter stitch ridges here. So for row 5, it's a right side row. I'm going to begin with knit 3, and I'm just knitting 3 at the beginning to create a garter stitch border of 3 stitches. So I'm going to begin and end all my rows with a knit 3. So my pattern repeat begins with knit 1, winding yarn around needle 3 times, and repeat that to the end of the row. So what that means is this next stitch, I'm going to knit it, and as I wrap my yarn around, I'm going to do that 2 extra times. So I've wrapped it around the needle, the right hand needle, 3 times and pulled those 3 loops through. So I've actually increased 2 stitches, but this is just temporary. We're not really counting those as stitches. And you'll see that on the next row. So I'm just going to do that all the way across, inserting my right hand needle through my next stitch from left to right as if to knit, and wrap the yarn around 1, 2, 3 times for every single stitch across. And you can see if I pull my knitting a little bit, you can see where each stitch is attached. If I move the working yarn, you can see that even better. And you can see where I've turned the 3 stitches, or the 1 stitch into 3 stitches. But like I said, this is just a temporary measure, having all of these extra loops on your needle. You just have to be careful to count 1, 2, 3 for each stitch. So we're doing this not to increase stitches, but to create elongated loops, just to get some extra yarn into each stitch. And we'll see. So row 6 is again going to begin with knit 3 because that's just my border. Then my instructions say slip next 5 stitches together, dropping extra loops. Return last 5 slip stitches to left hand needle, K5 together as follows, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 twice, and repeat that to the last 3 stitches. So that's a big mouthful, and we're going to work through that step by step, and you'll see that it's really not all that difficult. So what I'm going to do is slip next 5 stitches 1 at a time, purlwise. So purlwise means I'm going to work the next 5 stitches. I'm going to insert my needle as if to purl, so from right to left. So 1 at a time, and at the same time that I'm doing this, I'm dropping those extra loops that I created. So when I said that I could pull my knitting down and I can see where these 3 stitches are connected, these 3 loops are connected, that's my 1 stitch. It's really just 1 stitch, but it's wrapped around the needle a couple extra times. So I'm going to slip that purlwise by inserting my needle, my right hand needle, from right to left, and drop the extra loops just by tugging on that and letting them go. And you can see now I have an elongated loop. So I'm going to do that 5 times. So that's 1, 2, and I'm just going to place my thumb on those loops on the right hand needle just so they don't slip off, because they are so much bigger than a regular knit loop. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5. So now I have 5 stitches slip purlwise on my right hand needle. Now I'm going to return these last 5 slip stitches to the left hand needle. And to do that, I'm not going to twist them. I'm not going to do anything from right to left. I'm just going to insert my left hand needle right into all of those loops. And I'm going to put my thumb on there to make sure they don't slip off and slip out my right hand needle. Now I'm going to knit these 5 stitches together, but in a very specific way. I'm going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all into those 5 stitches all at the same time. Again, it sounds more complicated than it is. I'm going to treat all of these 5 elongated loops as if it was 1 stitch. And because I'm knitting it together and leaving these 5 loops together, I'm not going to decrease them. That's where that knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, that's where all that nonsense comes in. So I'm going to insert my right hand needle from left to right through all 5 loops at once. Knit 1. I'm not going to let those 5 loops go off the needle yet. I'm going to bring my yarn to the front because now I'm going to purl through those same stitches again. So this time it's from right to left through all 5 loops. Pull the yarn through, don't drop the stitches off the left hand needle. Bring the yarn back, knit 5 together. Bring the yarn to the front, purl 5 together, so from right to left. And then once more, bring my yarn to back so that I can knit those 5 together. So you got a lot of loops, a lot of strands going on here. But now I can slip it off the needle, and I've created that loopy crown bit that you can see further down. So we'll go over that again, just to be clear. But you can see that even though I increased on the last row, we haven't actually increased or decreased any stitches at all. We've just moved them around and put them in a different order and elongated them, but we should still have the same amount of stitches when you get to the end of this 6th row. So let me do that again. This is the repeat. I'm going to slip the next 5 stitches together. Well, not together, they're one at a time, purlwise, just like we did before. So insert my needle from right to left and just pull, dropping those extra loops. Do that 4 more times. Insert your needle as if to purl and slip those extra loops off the needle, and then you're getting your elongated loops on your right hand needle. I've got 3, I've got 4, and now I've got 5. So now I want to work these 5 elongated stitches together. So I need to put them back on my left hand needle to work them. So I'm just going to insert my left hand needle through all 5 stitches, slip them back on the left there. Now I'm going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 through all 5 loops together, through all these 5 stitches together. So starting with a knit 5 together, I'm going to insert my right hand needle from left to right through all 5 stitches at once. Wrap the yarn around the needle, pull a loop through, and then without dropping those 5 loops off of the left hand needle, I'm going to bring my yarn in between the needles to the front so that I can purl these 5 stitches together, the same 5 stitches. So I'm inserting my right hand needle from right to left, bringing the yarn around, pulling a loop through. I'm not slipping it off the left hand needle yet. I'm going to bring my yarn to the back so that I can knit those 5 stitches together again. Bring through a loop, don't drop it off the left hand needle. Bring the yarn to the front so that I can purl the 5 stitches together, inserting my right hand needle from right to left. And then one more maneuver, I'm going to Bring the yarn to the back again in between my needles. And I'm gonna knit 5 together, so inserting my right hand needle from left to right, wrapping the yarn around, pulling up a loop, and now I can drop everything off the left hand needle. So I began with 5 elongated loops, and now I still have 5 stitches. And those 2 stitches, or 2 rows rather, are where all the fancy stitches happen. The rest of the rows of the 8 row repeat are just knitting. They're just garter stitch. So it's just those 2 fancy rows bordered by garter stitch. And you can see here, there's my little crown, just like on the previous rows. And that's all there is to it. And you can change colors. It also looks great in just one color. Here we've changed colors at the end of every repeat. So every row 1 begins with a new color. And lots of different things you can do with this stitch. It looks very complicated, but you just have to remember there's only those 2 rows of fancy stitches, and you've got a really great fancy looking technique. So that's it for crown stitch.